actually disagree with that. In my time here in Lewis County, I haven't seen that. I have a lot of respect for our current judiciary. I think that they have all been very fair. So I don't know that I really need to make any changes there, but I will say that I will always do everything I can to be fair, to uphold the trust that the county has in our judiciary. And we'll hear each side. And I think it probably helps that, as I said earlier, I have very extensive experience in law enforcement as a prosecutor and defense. So I've seen both sides of the parties, and I've also been involved with family law and other civil aspects of the law as well. And so I've seen the whole gamut of what judges would see. And I think that's the first time we've had that in our county.
Thank you. Catherine, same question. Should get it better this time, sorry. Judges, Lewis County Superior Court judges are notorious for being adversarial. They pick which side they want to win and then slant their decisions towards who they want to win. Will you try to change that?
Having practiced law in front of various judges in numerous counties, I think as an advocate for one side or the other, you oftentimes may perceive that to be the case. It is our hope, of course, that even though judges are human, they can't help but have their own personal biases and thoughts and preconceptions on certain issues, that they will try to uphold and follow the law. And that is my intent as a judge in Lewis County, to follow the facts of each case, and it is our hope throughout the state that that is how the judges practice their law.
Thank you. Okay. You may sit down. Thank you.
It looks like this one's for the commissioners. It doesn't have a name on it, so why don't we start with Dan Cady and Edna Fund. Edna, I'll start with you. Discover Lewis County applied for LTAC, that's lodging tax funds, from the city of Centralia. Do you support that decision? Is that not expanding government and not supporting the private sector?
The Lodging Tax Advisory Committee that is in the county and in both cities is made up of a group that is 2 individuals normally who generate those funds, like hotels, and 2 that use them. So that committee will be needing to make that decision. And usually there's a city councilor in the cities, and for the county, it's a county commissioner. So when somebody applies for that kind of lodging tax dollars, they will be judged by them. What we believe is that if we can provide a service, and there was some encouragement to apply there to provide some technical items that hasn't been provided before. I think it was to the Sports Hub, that the Sports Hub was hoping to get some help with that. They were encouraged to apply. So other people can apply. That's open to anyone who is a government agency or is a private nonprofit or is a for-profit. It is in statute that that's allowable. So the question I heard you say is, do I support that? Is that what I heard you say?
Is that not expanding government and not supporting the private sector?
If you look at who's applying, if somebody else wants to do that, if there is a private entity that wants to do that, I would think that lodging tax group would be making that decision. From what I understand, nobody else in that arena could do that kind of business. But once again, it's dependent upon what that lodging tax committee makes that decision, and then they recommend to the governing body.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dan, I'll repeat the question for you. Discover Lewis County applied for LTAC, that's lodging tax funds, from the city of Centralia. Do you support that decision? Is that not expanding government and not supporting the private sector?
I'm a Republican, and so I'm not for bigger government. And this is one more time that we're having bigger government that could be done by the private sector. And I think we need to pursue options in the private sector. I wouldn't want the government doing real estate. That would be taking my job. And I think there are entities out there that can do this job. Chamber of Commerce, one, but there are others too. And you will see more applications, I think, to Centralia. But I don't think it should be Lewis County in charge of tourism. I think that's way overstepping the bounds of government. And what's our return on investment? How much money have we put into Discover Lewis County, and what have we returned on that? And if they don't know that answer, then shame on them. They should have an answer for that.
Do you want the other two?
Yes, that question was addressed to all
Yeah.
of those,
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
and then we will go down to.
I'll repeat the question for you, Mr. Lozar. Discover Lewis County applied for LTAC, which stands for Lodging Tax Funds, from the City of Centralia. Do you support that decision? Is that not expanding government and not supporting the private sector?
I don't think I can say this any better than what Dan Gahey just got done telling you. If I'm elected your servant, I think that's the first thing that I'd like to take off the plate of the Lewis County, of Lewis County. It needs to go to the private sector. I think a better arena for that would be like a Chamber of Commerce. Government has no business picking winners and losers.
Mr. Jackson, I'll go with you next, and I'll read it one more time. Discover Lewis County applied for LTAC funding, which stands for Lodging Tax Funds, from the City of Centralia. Do you support that decision? Is that not expanding government and not supporting the private sector?
I do not support that decision, and I do think that it's an overreach on the part of the county. That said, I do support Discover Lewis County, but I support it for more than just a tourism reason. I see it as a marketing tool for us to encourage growth and development in business. I sat with the director of IT, Steve Wold, and he asked me the question, and I said I would not have voted for the original amount of money of $85,000 to go into Discover Lewis County. But I've seen the finished product, and because I think in marketing terms, I see a possibility and opportunity here for us to be able to market our county through that website. At the same time, I fully support the Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber and I have had this conversation as well. It's one of those things we're probably going to disagree on in the long run, and that's okay, because we can't let honest disagreements separate us as people working together for the greater good. But as far as Discover Lewis County requesting LTAC funds from the City of Centralia, I am not in favor of that. I do think that's an overreach. And let me speak specifically to the PUD, because I serve as a public facilities district, what am I, Todd, a commissioner or something? I serve on the there you go. I serve on the PFD. And as far as lodging tax is concerned with the Northwest Sports Hub, I believe that we just had a 1% in lodging tax that was allocated for the Sports Commission. Was it 2%? Okay, there was a is it $2 per head? There was money that was allocated through LTAC, $2 per head, and that's specifically for a sports commission, which, by the way, is going to help us grow our economy here in this area. So that's what that money is for. So,
Thank you.
Okay, this question that I have here is for Dan and Edna. Edna, ladies first, we'll go with you. When you're going to the state asking for money, should that be done by a commissioner, or should that be done by a specialist, such as a lobbyist?
It can be done by both. I have been trained as a legislative testifier when I worked for the state. I spent 15 years up there on the Hill talking with legislators and working on issues. So for me, I know what I'm doing. We also belong to the Washington State Association of Counties. And most of the counties belong to that, and we work together to hire a representative, a lobbyist for us on different issues. So we have somebody that works on the health issues, some people work on the GMA, etc. So we meet up there as a group during legislative session, and we talk about the issues. Then we break up. Well, you'll go to this legislator, you'll go to this one, you know this one, you know that one, you know the issues. So, and I've been up to see Ed Orcutt up there and sent him a note saying, can you come talk to me about this particular bill? And so you need to be able to be, you need to be trained to do it, because you know your issues. You know flooding. They want to hear from the people, the local people. If you ever go on TVW and listen, lobbyists are good, and I appreciate them, and they really help us as we try to go through the maze of legislation. But it really takes local people up there to speak. I tell you, when we have farmers or anybody coming up who've been flooded, and we ask them to come with us, and we put 4 of us up front, and we're all talking flooding, it has an impact. We know the reality. So I believe we commissioners should be the biggest advocate up in the legislature. And I love texting my legislators and saying, you know, we need help in this. Can you tell me about that? That interpersonal relationship is very necessary. And the lobbyists can always tell us another way to go to it or go to this other committee. But I think as commissioners, that's one of our jobs, is to advocate for our community and also to take the wise, sage advice that we get from the Washington State Association of Counties. And it is wonderful to have people in numbers go to the legislature and make a difference. And local people really do that. And I want to be one of those.
Dan, same question for you. When you're going to the state and asking for money, should that be done by a commissioner or should it be done by a specialist such as lobbyists?
So at the Port of Centralia, we have, we would go to our legislative representatives when it's needed, and we tell them, here's the things that are important to us this year. But when it comes down to getting money for something, we hire a lobbyist for that, and we spend a few $1,000s, and we've gotten $35–40 million in return. That's a pretty good return on investment, and that's stuff none of us could have done. That's something no county commissioner can get, because you're not only talking to your own representative, but that lobbyist is talking to their staff. And that lobbyist is working with the staff, answering questions. So any legislator is spending a lot of time in meetings. The staff is telling them, here's what we think you should do on this, here's the direction you should go. And they listen to them. And so the lobbyists will get to the staff, and not only to our own, but also to all the ones that we need in support. Because no one legislator gives money away. You have to have a coalition, and that's what a lobbyist will do for you. Now, when you're called to talk, yes, definitely we'll be there, and we'll be representing Lewis County. But if you're relying on other organizations like Association of Counties or Association of Ports, then honestly, we wouldn't be anywhere with Centralia Station right now if that's how we did it.
Okay. And then I was just handed another question here, and this is for Dan, and Dan Cahill.
Just for me?
Do you see a conflict of interest in your business and being a county commissioner? If not, why not?
That's a good question, and you know, that's a question I've gotten, and I think it's been set up from a lot of people, to be honest with you. But Port of Centralia, would I continue to be a port commissioner? Obviously not. That would not make sense to be a Port of Centralia commissioner at the same time a Lewis County commissioner. I would resign from that position, but I know a lot about ports, and I know what both Ports of Centralia and Chehalis and Packwood. We haven't talked about the East End very much at all today, but they need a lot out there, and I've talked to those people, and I think we can help. But as a realtor, I bring a lot of knowledge to the community. I mean, that's like saying that you wouldn't want an accountant because they're going to do a budget every year, or you wouldn't want an attorney because you're dealing with laws every year. That just doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, and I have way more experience than just being a realtor. That's not the only thing I've done in my life. So, but it's a lot of experience, especially in land use, especially in zoning, and that's what I do every day. And negotiation and mediation. That's the other part of my job. So, thanks.
Bobby and Bob, I guess we'll address this to you. This is a great question. I'm excited about your answers. Lewis County has railroads, the freeway, and the airport. Lewis County always has the highest unemployment rate. Why is that?
You go first.
Well, I'll tell you something. As an employer, we have a difficult time getting good qualified people, getting people that can pass a drug test. You drive around Chehalis and Centralia or all over Lewis County, you're gonna see help wanted signs all over the doggone place. And maybe some of them aren't the most desirable jobs, but there's a lot of good jobs out there. I'd hire a truck driver tomorrow. I'd hire an equipment operator tomorrow. I can't find one. So I'm thinking maybe we ought to cut back a little bit on the social programs. Maybe we ought to quit paying people to sit on their butts and become a productive member of society. I think that would really help out our unemployment problem in Lewis County.
We have 8.5% unemployment, I believe, in Lewis County at this moment. And all of the studies will tell us that you will never completely be rid of unemployment. In fact, there's a number that they say that any community should be hovering around, and I think it's 5% or less. Those are just numbers. I think the reasons that we have, the issues that we have with unemployment here in Lewis County are varied for a lot of reasons, and I'll address one that I think is critical for us, and that is that we have young people that are graduating from high school with their high school diplomas, and if they're in the STEM program, they're also graduating with their two-year college degree. They're going to school, they're finishing out their educations, and they're not coming back to Lewis County to work because we do not have the jobs to support their education. So I think that is one of the reasons that lends itself to such high unemployment. So my goal is to see industry come where we can have these kids go to school, come back, and go to work and bring those talents and those abilities back here and invest them in Lewis County.
Thank you both.
I was just handed a late entry. This is for Dan Key specifically. There's two parts to this question.
Two parts, okay.
And we are trying to limit these to 1 minute. So in April and today, the Chronicle wrote that Dan Key wants to work and improve the county's economy. According to the Public Disclosure Commission, accessed on October 4th, Mr. Cahey spent 78% of his campaign funds, a total of $8,687.70, outside of the county, whereas Commissioner Funds spent only 3% of her money, $381 outside of the county. Can he explain why he chose to do business outside of the county? Also, did he really purchase parade candies from Providence Hospital? It says he spent $399.90 at Providence on candy. Did they really sell candy in large quantities?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yes, he
You have
did.
contacts, so you know how to get good deals. So,
Okay.
and that's exactly what I bring to the county is the knowledge of how to work with people and get things done. I don't know where you got the other number because all of my signs, all of my printing material, all came from PostNet in Centralia, a local entity. So,
From the documents that have been handed here, it does highlight PostNet, and it shows PostNet as a mailing address in Denver. So,
yeah,
it's-
that's probably it. But no, I bought everything local, and I did that on purpose because I do want to support my local economy. Also bought a lot of candy from, and if we start talking about where people got their candy from, that's kind of petty stuff. So.
I think the biggest one was the PostNet. It does
And I'll
show
tell you what,
that.
I'm gonna give away all of the rest of what I have on Halloween, so.
And question number 2
Okay.
is,
I only have 10 seconds.
what is your opinion on the marijuana moratorium?
My opinion on the marijuana moratorium, I think the county's done a good job on taking their time on this issue, because it is a huge issue. Marijuana is an interesting one, we've demonized it, and I think that there are many people with a lot of serious issues that could really benefit from marijuana. My own sister died from breast cancer about 1.5 years ago, and the pain she went through, something like marijuana would have been very, very helpful for her. And I know other people that have done the same thing. So I think we need to find a way to stop demonizing it and use it for what its intended use is. And there's a lots of good uses well, how many of you own stuff that says hemp on it? It's probably in all your cupboards, and it's everywhere. So how do we stop making it so it's a terrible thing? No, what I'm not for, obviously, is people walking down the street smoking a joint. That just has no interest to me at all. I don't even like cigarettes for that. I wouldn't want somebody walking down the road with a beer in their hand. And we have laws for that kind of stuff. But But I think if it's used appropriately, there's definitely a benefit. And they're going to end their moratorium, they promised, by the end of the year. So we'll see what happens at that point.
Okay, I got a question for Mike. Question 1 says Dan Katie, question 2 doesn't say anything.
We can certainly have everybody respond. We have 5 more minutes, so a minute apiece on the moratorium,
Okay.
marijuana moratorium.
We'll just stay on this side, and we'll move over to this side. Mr. Bozak, what is your opinion on the marijuana moratorium?
Well, unfortunately, the citizens of the state of Washington passed an initiative in 2014. And I understand that Lewis County has taken some time to act on it. I'm going to tell you right up front, I voted no on that initiative. Having said that, I am also the guy, I don't know what to say about this doggone thing, other than the fact that I don't like the idea of it, but I think that I would go ahead and approve. Just get this thing out of the way in Lewis County in the respect that I think we're gonna go that direction anyway, as bad as it pains me to say it. But I think if we do make that move, we're going to have some accountability to go with it. I mean some stringent accountability. I know that down here on State Street, I think we got 4 or 5 pot shops down there right now. And it is a problem for it's a problem. And it's going to generate more problems, I'm afraid. But having said that, I would go ahead and pass it with stringent accountability.
Thank you, Bob. And now for this side, Bobby Jackson, you're closest, so we'll go with you. What is your opinion on the marijuana moratorium?
The moratorium is in place so that the county can set up regulations for grows. That's basically what it's in place for. The reality is that you have to have a federal permit to even be able to grow marijuana in the unincorporated area of Lewis County. So it is basically against the law as far as that goes. We've seen other counties in the state that have thrown their doors open once the state law was passed that recreational marijuana was going to be legal. We've seen other counties throw their doors open and they've experienced disaster because they did not go in and they didn't do their due diligence as far as regulating the product. Lewis County is taking a very strong step towards making sure that we have every regulation in place before we lift that moratorium. So I'm in favor of the moratorium staying in place. Once the regulations are in place and we're comfortable and satisfied with that, then we do need to lift it, yes.
Thank you, Bobby. And Ed, the same question. What is your opinion of the marijuana moratorium?
Of course, since I've been part of the commission that approved that, I'm glad we did it. And as Bobby just said, there's been other counties in the state that were quick ones to get in, and they found they did not regulate the water that's being used, that the odor that's put out, that you need to have stringent issues there addressed before somebody sets up a processing or grow or a sales area. We are going to be having a marijuana hearing at the end of October as we show you the regulations that we've put in place. And as Bobby said, part of that, it also says, in order for you to engage in marijuana sales, processing, or retail, that you will need to have a federal license. And that's the way it sits now. Some folks said, why don't you just say federal license in the beginning? Well, just in case that goes away, we needed to have our regulations in place. So we did our due diligence. So if you have any feelings about that, come to the next hearing.
Thank you, Edna.
Thank you all very much for participating and being a very attentive audience. And good night to our KDLA